Good morning, Quad Cities. It is 9 o'clock on a Friday morning, Friday, March 14th, 2025. I'm meteorologist Andrew Stutzky.
And I'm weather anchor Peter Warner.
And here we are again.
We're back. We got a busy day today, don't we?
Very busy day. And as promised, we have a whole bunch of coverage planned for you, not just on air, but right here on the 8+ app. We're also simulcasting to our Facebook page. So like yesterday, we're going to spend the next 45 minutes or so
Probably
doing a deep dive into our risk for those severe storms coming in this evening. And of course, if you guys have questions related to that, we're going to be answering those as well. How do you get your questions to us if you're not watching us on social media? If you're, for example, watching on your TV with the 8+ app.
You can text us.
And what's that phone number?
309-304-0888. Let's do it again. 309-304-0888. You can see it there on the bottom of the screen.
And there it is. Yep. So we've got those lines of communication open on my laptop here today too, and our folks behind the scenes in the digital desk will be helping us. So put your questions there. Also, if you're watching us on Facebook, you can put your questions there as well, and we'll get to them. So we have a lot to talk about. A little bit of some change in the threat of severe weather in terms of who's under what for a risk, a little bit shift in the wind, and actually some concerning information coming from the Storm Prediction Center in their latest update when it comes to that at 7:30 this morning. So
it's a big jump.
Yeah, I'll show you some of that here coming up in a second. Let's start with a couple of things that are going on right now before the storm. I can't say it's the calm before the storm because there's nothing calm about what's going to be coming in here this afternoon, and that is wind. We do have a wind advisory for everyone from 1 this afternoon until 1 o'clock tomorrow morning. Those are for winds that could potentially get up to about 50 miles an hour, and you'll notice those especially after lunchtime. The other thing we have going on is a red flag warning, and what that means is we should not be burning anything outside today. The fire danger is extremely high. We already had about 3 to 4 fires yesterday in grassy areas that got out of control. There was one near Orion, there was another one near Walnut, and then there was one that was east of our coverage area that I saw when I was up in Sterling yesterday afternoon getting some car work done. So don't do it today. This is the day that if you do start a fire, it's going to be extremely difficult to contain because of all the dry vegetation. We're going to be up to 80 degrees this afternoon.
Record high potential.
Exactly. And the relative humidity is going to be very low. So no burning today. Let's not do that today. It is not the day to do that. Now down to our weather impact alert, which on an average day, we would cover the whole day with that, but we really want to hone in on a specific time because this is where the dangerous stuff comes in. Not everyone is impacted by a fire that gets set in a field somewhere or these high winds, but this will certainly be something that impacts all of you that are watching and everybody around the region, and that is that threat for severe storms. And Peter, we're still looking at kind of that late evening into the overnight timing.
Yeah, that's kind of where it's been timing out pretty well. We're starting to need a little bit more agreement on the models too with that timing. We're feeling pretty confident about that for that severe storm potential overnight. Pardon me. And that's what's kind of even a little bit more worrisome is that it's trending still after sundown, which brings a little bit more of a hazard too.
We don't like that. We don't like timing, of any kind of storm system, especially when it involves the wind that's coming in and that threat of tornadoes after dark. That's one of the things that really kind of unsettles us, if you will, in this kind of a pattern. But yeah, we're still kind of timing that 6 to 11. What's changed in terms of the severe storm zones? There's just been a slight northward shift versus what we saw yesterday. So now everyone is in that 3 out of 5. And we now have a few more hometowns along and north of Interstate 80 that have been added to that 4 out of 5, which is a significant risk. There it is.
There we go.
My arrow keeps disappearing, but yeah, right on the edge here. So in the fuchsia color, that kind of purple, that's your 4 out of 5 risk. So who did we add? We added the entire Metro Quad Cities. We added Geneseo. We technically added Princeton. I would say you're in that, and along with LaSalle, Peru too. And we also added Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, and Tipton, south of DeWitt. So we've added a lot more populated areas to the 4. The reason why that got escalated is because the wind potential has increased.
Yeah, we've seen a significant increase in that, and the winds aloft continue to trend higher and higher as we're getting closer to the event here.
Yeah.
We saw a couple, I think, 90s on the board now that we're seeing potentially when it comes to the wind aloft now. That's jumped up, and it just keeps on getting a little bit stronger and stronger. not every hour, but it's been trending that way.
With each new set of
Each
model data that we
updates,
get,
yes.
whether it's every 6 hours, 8 hours, or 12 hours, it keeps going up. The one thing that didn't change is the tornado zone. That has remained unchanged. Everyone has the opportunity to see at least an isolated tornado, but it's this area down here where we're really concerned about one or two of those isolated tornadoes getting a little bit stronger. And I agree, with this zone being farther to the south, and I'll show you why here coming up in a minute, because there's a certain ingredient you need to really get those cloud bases, the bottom of those clouds, to get closer to the ground, because that's the one limiting factor we have with this setup that's going on today.
Yeah, that's kind of been the big thing that we've been keeping an eye on almost when it comes to those tornadoes, is how much moisture are we going to get as we get those southeastern winds making their way through today.
Exactly.
As that jet makes its way up, and kind of need to get to about the 55-degree mark when it comes to the dew points, and that's what we're really focusing on, is the moisture that you need to have that lower cloud level, the lowest level you can start to see those clouds form, drop lower in the atmosphere. We need around a 55-degree dew point, and we're starting to see that trend further to the south where you see that hatch mark.
Exactly, yeah. So the more moisture we get in here, the higher the tornado threat is. I'm going to take you through the dew point tracker in a second to show you if any of our hometowns can manage to get close to that, which ones it would be. But other than the tornadoes, I would say this is still our biggest concern, because this is the threat that is not isolated, it is not scattered, it is significant, and it is widespread. That's what 4 out of 5 means. 4 out of 5 means widespread impacts, and that's likely what we're going to see. So you notice that plum color has shifted north to match that 4 out of 5 that we showed you in the first graphic. So a lot more folks are going to be under that threat of seeing 75+ mile-per-hour winds. In fact, I actually put a graphic together. I don't have it in the system here, but just before we came to this, I was reading through the Storm Prediction Center, who forecasts severe weather through NOAA. And this is word for word saying intense thunderstorm straight line gusts peaking locally in the 80 to 100 mile-per-hour range are possible with the stronger core's inflections, meaning the stronger thunderstorms and those stronger signatures on radar, in the band as it matures and moves across the mid-Mississippi Valley, and eventually into southwestern Great Lakes tonight. And that's taking it straight from the Storm Prediction Center. That is not me saying there's going to be 80 to 100 mile-per-hour winds. That's the Storm Prediction Center saying we are looking at that possibility that some areas within this line could see that magnitude of wind.
It's a real significant threat. And I mean, big update that we saw. And I think just we want to emphasize again, that 75+ where we're seeing that purplish color. That's what we're really keeping an eye on, especially I think south of that Interstate 80. Not that everyone won't see the impacts of this, but that's where that trend has been. And when it comes to the storm, the stronger little cells that we're seeing within this line, it's trending right towards that southern portion here of the viewing area, your Mount Pleasant, your Burlington, maybe up towards Washington and maybe Muscatine as well, carrying into the Illinois side of the river over there as well. That's kind of where we're seeing the strongest signatures when it comes to this thunderstorm.
Oh yeah, very, very easily. So if you're under that plum area, even to the north has a little bit more of a scattered opportunity for those stronger wind gusts, but south is absolutely where that widespread coverage is exposed to be. So if we put this all on one graphic, what's our top concern? Obviously, it's the damaging wind. That's a 4 out of 5. The tornado, an isolated stronger tornado or two, is our secondary concern at a 3 out of 5. And we're not really too worried about hail. We could get some quarter-sized hail, but usually when the storms are moving so fast and so quickly, it's hard to get that hail core established because these storms are constantly recycling over and over and over again in such a short amount of time. It's hard to get a hail core established.
Yeah, I think more central to Iowa, towards closer to central eastern, you can almost say up towards Ottumwa. That's where that hail threat's a little bit larger.
Exactly.
And then it'll kind of taper off as we get later into the afternoon, early evening.
Yeah, I agree with that. The further south, the better, because actually that's where some of these storms could briefly kind of isolate themselves from the line before getting into that solid line, and that's where your hail threat would grow. So earlier, Peter was kind of talking about the dew point temperature and how we need that temperature to get to about 55 degrees or higher to really start increasing that tornado threat. Well, again, we're not going to be dealing with a ton of storm energy. This event is not going to be driven by how much sun we see today or how much warmth we get today. This event is going to be mainly driven by the change of wind direction and speed with height, known as wind shear. So look at our storm energy, 580. That's not much. It's low. But look at the dew point. It's at 50, so it's kind of lagging behind a little bit.
Yes, just a little bit below the mark. Again, we're still seeing such strong shear. and maybe enough moisture for those spin ups, but it's really just more going to be a shear driven event that we're focusing on here.
Exactly. And when you were talking about, needing those warmer, those juicier dew points, where are those going to set up? So if you go ahead of this line by this evening, you can see these little tongues of moisture, I'm calling them, where we do get, those more kind of low to mid 50 dew points streaming up here into Galesburg. There's a couple other little streamers that try to come in here as well. And the line itself, by about 8 o'clock, is sitting right in here over the Mississippi River. So where we can get these dew points to go above, say, 53, 54 degrees is where you're going to have your tornado potential. And that certainly lines up with where the Storm Prediction Center is forecasting that tornado potential, which would be right down here. Now, Galesburg shows only 50, but if you look at the color scale here, you notice those lighter greens, those are above 50-degree dew points, and see how they're streaming in ahead of that line. That's where you could get that quick spin-up tornado and possibly an isolated, stronger tornado as the line comes in.
And we have the potential for maybe some EF2s. That's kind of the threshold we're looking at right now.
Exactly. Yeah, and EF2 is nothing, to sneeze about, because that's winds more than 100 miles an hour. That will certainly cause some damage. We're going back to that shear that we talked about, the upper level winds as the line itself comes through, where we're still anticipating, look at those readings, over 90 miles an hour.
Insane. I mean, we're going to be seeing such strong downdraft with this too, because we're seeing it's a cold front based kind of system that's going to be following it. So the downdraft as we get this line moving through is what's going to be bringing those upper level atmospheric winds down towards the surface and bringing those significant gusts that we're seeing.
Yeah, and we talked about that. We've talked about that the last 3 days about, looking at those mid to upper level winds. That gives you an indication if one of these storms really starts to take off. That's the kind of wind speed that you could get fairly close to as it reaches the ground. I'll show you a couple of different scenarios. I know we did this yesterday. We'll do it again today. We'll start with the in-house model, which is our IBM graph model. So we'll put that into motion, and it still has very similar timing like to what we saw yesterday, where this is going to be getting into areas west of the Quad Cities after 7 o'clock, and then we think by about 8, we're working that into the metro. And it still has that bow-like appearance to it.
Yes, and even like some couplet type appearances too. And those are what we're really keeping an eye on, those bows and those couplets. That indicates not only strong winds, but also potentially maybe some circulation that we could be seeing with the system.
Yeah, exactly. You can get those quick little spin-ups right on the edge of these little systems here. And yeah, we're talking about the bow-looking appearance both here and in Galesburg. And you're likely going to see that extend farther to the north. I mean, the whole line itself is arcing from northwest to southeast.
Yes.
So you know it's going to have some powerful wind with it. I had a lot of people ask this morning, too, what direction would that powerful wind be coming from once it gets here? It's going to most likely be a west-southwest wind. Somewhere out of the west is where that wind is going to be coming from as that line moves through.
Yeah, it's all circulating off that area of low pressure that's tracking through. And I mean, it's going to be a deep area of low pressure with some steep pressure gradient that's going to be causing these winds.
Yeah, we have to remember the storm system is still maturing. It's still strengthening as it comes in. So that's why we're seeing such a wind-driven event that's going to be plowing through here. If we summarize all of this timing for you in one graphic, I know this is super helpful for a lot of people. I tried to keep the labels away from the town so you can see, what we're looking at in terms of who gets what. Probably not going to be, actually it will let me kind of play around with it a little bit.
Fun.
So keep those timings in mind here. So, Washington, Mount Pleasant, Muscatine, Tipton, Monticello, we're more in that 7 to 8. Then you get to east of Muscatine. You're talking about all of the Quad Cities, the metro, Galesburg, Knoxville. You've got Aledo down there, Kewanee, Geneseo, getting into Prophetstown, Erie, Clinton, Maquoketa, Savannah, Galena. What other hometowns can I name off here? All of them there.
All of them.
Monmouth, Macomb.
There we go, Monmouth.
There's a few more, 8 to 10 is your timing on that line. And then east of the Quad Cities into Sterling, Rock Falls, and Princeton once we get closer to 10 and 11 o'clock. And speaking of time, here's our schedule for today, if you will. First, we kind of talked about this yesterday, the ingredients, the difference between a watch and a warning. Obviously, a watch, everything you need to make it is on the table.
You can see it.
Yeah.
The ingredients are there. But when it's the warning, that's kind of when, you hear that dinger on your timer.
Yes.
It's ready to come out of the oven, and it is happening. Your muffins are ready, you could say. And when it comes to these, it's your strong winds are there, your severe thunderstorms are there, your tornado potential is there. And that's when you got to take warning. We're watching it, when it's making its way through. Once that warning is issued, that means really take cover and get prepared.
That means it's go time. Again, we
Yes.
said 50 to 70 mile an hour storm motions, so that does not leave you much time to act when a warning gets issued for your region, so you got to move, move, move. Here's our schedule for today. What we're doing right now is we're doing this live severe storm discussion on the A+ app and our social channels. At 11:30, so about halfway through GMQC at 11, we're going to get another update from the Storm Prediction Center regarding our storm zones, where we're at, what the tornado zone, the wind zone, and what the threat track scale looks like. So that's coming up at 11:30. Sometimes it's right on the dot, sometimes it's early, sometimes it's delayed. So stick with me through that newscast. I'll let you know what's going on with that. Coming up at noon, before I leave for the day and come back this evening, I'm going to do one more update for those that may not be able to watch us for the 11 o'clock newscast. Just in case something changes with that 11:30 update, I want everybody to know about that change if there is one. Then the boss man, Chief Meteorologist James Zahara, is going to be coming in. Yep. He's going to be doing another one of these at 2:30 this afternoon, followed by another update from the Storm Prediction Center at 3 o'clock regarding the severe risk. I would think by then we would have probably some kind of a discussion in place, but we call those mesoscale discussions from the Storm Prediction Center. But what that means is there's going to be an area that the Storm Prediction Center is specifically watching and monitoring, probably for an issuance of a tornado watch at some point later this afternoon into this evening.
Yeah, that's what we'll be watching, and that's, I think, a great time when you should be tuning into the current and the 5 o'clock show here, because James will have that latest up-to-date information for you. We'll also be putting, obviously, all of it out on our social medias. Follow us there, and you'll see it on the Storm Track 8 app if you are issued one of those watches. But great opportunity to kind of check out the shows at 4 and 5 before we get to the 6 o'clock time frame.
Yes, the 4 would definitely be very helpful because that'll come in right after that new outlook is out at 3. That should give us more and more details as to what we're looking at. We'll see if they still include the 80 to 100 mile per hour verbiage in their text discussion. We'll see if that's still true. And then we're planning on full coverage, what we like to call wall to wall, on the 8+ app beginning at 6:30.
Yes.
Now, we know that that's, going to be a long time for long coverage. Does that mean we're going to cut into TV that long? No. We will be on the air on standard TV when life-threatening weather is coming through. So if we have a severe thunderstorm warning that's threatening lives and property, we'll be on. If we have a tornado warning, we will be on. What we're using the 8+ app for is to give you extended coverage. Perhaps we have a storm that's coming in. Maybe it's not here yet, but it's about 45 minutes to an hour away. There's an example of where we can use the 8+ app. It might not be worth going on TV. People don't care. It's an hour away, whatever. But we can get you on the 8+ app and give you that early heads up. Hey, these are what the storms look like right now. And we'll tell you when they'll come in and when we're probably going to have to cut into television programming for that. So I just want to reiterate that. We're not abandoning traditional television.
No.
What we're doing is we're keeping our standard protocol for traditional TV, but we're giving you more with the 8+ app. Yes.
To help you prepare and be safe. As we've been saying here all week, it's better to be prepared than be scared.
Yes.
We're just trying to help you stay prepared and give you as much warning as possible and up-to-date information that we're getting here and conveying that to you throughout the evening and the afternoon.
Because the beauty of the 8+ app is we own it.
It's us.
We don't have to run ads on it. We don't have to interrupt it for commercials, at least right now. So that means that we can go as long as we want in terms of tracking these storms tonight. If they were to even, tone down a little bit and not produce damage as they go east of the Quad Cities, maybe they're getting a little bit weaker, we may have to stop, on air because we're not talking about life-threatening storms, but we can still track those storms here on the 8+ app because we don't have ABC programming that's going to say, hey, we need to get on and kick us off.
No,
so we don't have to worry about a time clock or anything when you're on the 8+ app, which is really nice. So that's why we encourage you to have this, to get the 8+ app if you've got a smart TV. It's free. There's no charge to watch it, and you get all this bonus content like what you're seeing right here. So that's the timing of everything. That's all the ingredients that we're going to be tracking as this system comes in tonight. It's not going to be a repeat of the derecho that we had back in August several years ago. We're talking about this thing coming in very quickly, racing through, and not sticking around very long. But yes, it will still be capable of producing wind damage. Do you want to take a look at some of the other
maybe let's show them the
solutions? Yeah, we can show them the rapid refresh model.
Refresh. That's one's been kind of, they've started to see a little bit of agreement, but the HER, I feel like I've noticed trending a little bit more to some more moisture making its way up.
Sure, yeah. I'll see, sometimes we can't get, there's two different versions of the rapid refresh model. There's one that's a short term, so it may not reach all the way to as far in the future as we'd like. This is the rapid refresh one, the one that updates every hour. It has kind of similar timing. This one's actually a little bit slower than what our in-house model shows, but it's still the same idea that it's going to be this solid line of storms coming in between, 7, 9 o'clock here into the metro. It's interesting, though, you look at this model, and it continues to intensify this line as it marches into the Quad Cities metro later this evening. And that's further evidence that this is not a system or a setup that requires a ton of storm energy. This is all wind driven by that change in wind speed in the upper level of the atmosphere. So that looks really impressive, getting that to come through here. Very, very impressive. Should we go to the extended one? This would be one that was earlier this morning, probably around 6 o'clock or so, that run. This similar time, about an hour earlier, I think, on this one versus the one that just came in a little bit ago.
Yeah, and this one's bringing a little bit more of those heavier pockets of rainfall with it as well on the rapid refresh. And that's kind of what I've been seeing as a trend, maybe a little bit more moisture making its way up, a little bit stronger of those south winds. National Weather Service has indicated maybe it's a little bit potentially overzealous with that moisture, but that's definitely with the HRRR trend that we've been sending, or the rapid refresh, a trend that we've been seeing with this, kind of picking up more moisture. It's more of that southerly flow making a larger impact than we are seeing on our house model.
Yes, so there's going to be a couple of little intricate differences between each model that we show you here. And I'm going to load up just one or other product that I have not looked at yet, at least on our graphics system. It may take it a second to load in, so we're going to give it a hot minute to see if it'll load in the data. There may be nothing there. I don't see anything too crazy right now. There might not be anything there. So it's an interesting setup because, again, we're not involving a lot of heat energy. This is involving a lot of wind shear that's going to be coming in. Lots of different things we can choose from on here. That was by the way, what I was trying to load up was the significant tornado parameter, which shouldn't be overly high today.
No.
Again, we're not talking about really, really, really super strong tornadoes.
No.
I was not expecting that to be anything too crazy here.
Here we go.
This is what we call the supercell parameter, which also, not as high here.
No.
Where you get the hotter colors, that's where you're likely to see those supercell type thunderstorms. You notice it's south.
To our south.
Which is not surprising. That's where the better moisture is with this specific storm system.
Yeah, it's definitely been the kind of that, it's all so dependent on that little individual difference almost in moisture. It's going to be kind of almost a steep cutoff, you could say, from where that moisture makes that significant potential tornado impact.
Yes.
We're right on that line, so that's what's making it we're pretty confident, but that's why it's still a little bit unsure is what exactly amount of moisture will be making its way up here over the next 12 to 14 hours.
Exactly. Yep. It's all about the moisture. The moisture is what you have to get the tornado machine going. We have the winds, but you got to have the moisture first. I can show you one more product here, and we'll start taking some questions too. We do have the ability to use our FutureTrack model to model power outages. And you can see, as we get a little bit closer here into coming in here. In fact, I think that's the wrong model. Let me change that. That is like the shear model. Somehow that got changed here. There it is, power outage index. That's what we want to see. So we'll give this a second to load up. Let's go back here. When I looked at it yesterday, it wasn't really impressive in terms of the intensity of getting some power outages coming through here. There it is. So you can see, it's kind of scattered.
Yeah.
Saying possible that we're going to see some power outages as this line comes through, kind of on a scattered basis. And the one thing I think it's picking up on too is the fact that our trees haven't leafed out yet.
No, which is good.
If we had leaves on these trees and these winds were coming in here, we would have much, much, much worse problems with this wind scenario. But still, we are expecting some tree damage and some scattered power outages that will be possible because of this storm. So we can go ahead and start doing some questions.
Ready for some questions?
Yeah, let's see what folks are curious about, and we'll get some answers.
Yeah, let's see. Just a quick note. Denise said it's already windy up in Maquoketa now. Makes sense.
The wind has started.
We're starting to see it. Delaney was wondering, how bad is the storm going to be in Kewaunee?
We are still expecting very strong winds there. You're easily in the 4 out of 5. You're in that plum wind zone. So yes, Kewaunee, we are expecting some very strong winds for you. That potential, again, that we may exceed 75 to 80 miles an hour.
going to be a dangerous one. Again, it's further, that I-80 corridor in south is really where we're keeping an eye on for the strongest wind potential.
Exactly, yeah. And I know it's kind of hard to see where Interstate 80 is on here. I'm going to draw a quick line.
That's good, right?
So if you're south of that orange line, if you're along and south of that orange line, right down in here, this is where we have the biggest potential to see those really, really strong wind gusts that come in. So when you're with us this evening and we're back in here and we're tracking this on radar, what I want you to look at on the radar and what we're going to be watching too are the Boeing signatures that come in. And I'll take it back to Future Track here and show you what you're looking for is the area of the line that is bending out from the rest of the line. Now, Future Track shows that here right over Galesburg. Is that exactly where it's going to be this evening? No. Again, this is a model estimate as to what the radar could look like. But the fact that we're already getting those signatures built into the model is telling us the wind is there.
Yes, and that when we start to see that Boeing impact, and that's kind of where we've seen the trend all week. It's obviously shifted up and down south of I-80, but in general, that south of I-80, southeastern Iowa, western Illinois is kind of where we've seen that Boeing effect trend here the whole week as we've started to see the system build up here.
Yeah.
That's what we've continued to keep an eye on and what we will continue to keep an eye on here as we get through the evening.
Been very consistent with that.
Yes.
Yep.
Definitely for sure.
Good question.
Sebastiana in Rock Island, do you think that this high of a level can happen again this year as it seems our tornado alley seems to have shifted from what it was before? Thank you for keeping us up to date.
Yeah, in fact, that's a story and topic you're going to be talking about in our severe weather special, which is already launched, by the way.
Launched.
We launched it yesterday here on the app. So you've got a great story on that. Please check it out. Some fascinating information. You should see the graphs that he made.
Oh, goodness.
I'm a data nerd, so I saw those graphs and I was geeking out all over the place because
I
they're
love data
beautiful
digging.
graphs. Yes.
Data digging's the best.
It was awesome. So I want you to check out that special. It is on demand in the app right now. He talks about that tornado alley shift. What was the other part of the question? I got so excited about the graphs, I forgot what the question was.
Do you think that this high of a level of a storm can happen again this year as our tornado alley has potentially shifted? And yes, we still see about the same frequency, if actually not, maybe a little bit more of tornadoes, especially on the Illinois side of the river. We've seen an increase in frequency. It's just maybe the severity that has decreased, but we're still seeing up to EF2 tornadoes about on average every year. That's about kind of the threshold that we're seeing, and that's what we have the potential for this, and we still have the potential for that continuing throughout the severe season. This is just the first one of probably many, potential severe storms we're going to be seeing here this year throughout the viewing area.
Oh yeah, we're not done with 4 out of 5s, I don't think.
No, I don't think
We're just getting started.
Yeah, this is the first one of the year. It's just coming in with a bang almost.
Yeah,
You could say.
coming in with busting that door wide open.
Yes,
kicking
really,
it down.
really getting us started.
Yeah.
Jessica was saying, on the radar, do the storms look like they will be really strong? It does not look very severe, just wondering.
Yeah, so you can't base it just on the color of the radar alone, because even though you're not seeing a lot of red, you're not seeing a lot of this color or this color on the radar presentation, does not mean that they don't have some strong winds with them. Do you remember sometimes, even early in the season, you can get just a shower that picks up some strong winds aloft and can bring winds down to about 50 to 60 miles an hour, and it has no lightning.
No.
It may look, yellow on the radar. It doesn't look like a big, intense thunderstorm. That's the case today, and that's why the radar presentation is not going to look big and scary with these colors all over the place. We're talking about something that is wind-driven, not driven by moisture. So
Yeah, it's all going to be about the wind shear.
Yep.
And again, even if it's a quick moving system, you could be seeing it for maybe, 20 to 30 minutes at most.
Yeah.
But within that 20, 30 minutes, even 170-plus mile per hour gust at last 15 seconds can cause significant damage.
It can, yep. And I've seen it.
Trees or any outdoor objects, good reminder here, tie up those outdoor objects, bring them inside if possible as well.
I know a lot of us don't have that patio furniture out yet, but you probably have a grill sitting outside.
Yep.
Bring that a little bit closer to the house if you can. You don't want that becoming a projectile object. Secure it all down.
Oh, yeah. And I know Craig, plenty of questions yesterday with Craig about plants. People are already looking to put outside too.
Oh, yeah. Starting to get that gardening
Starting
going.
to get that gardening going. Amanda was wondering, where does Silva sit in regard to the Zone 4 with tornadoes? It's hard to see with the Quad Cities and Geneseo names being right over top. So let's zoom in here.
Sure, yeah. Let's go ahead and we'll zoom in, and we're going to go right down. And I apologize. There's going to be a ton
You're gonna see.
of things that pop up here. So bear with us. Yes, Silvis is easily in the level 4. It's the entire Quad Cities Metro that's in this, including Silvis. It goes all the way out to Kelowna and Geneseo and all the way as far north as really where Interstate 88 gets into Whiteside County there. You can see it goes all the way up to just south of Cordova and then just southwest of Erie and Prophetstown. So this is everyone in the immediate Quad Cities that is under that 4 out of 5 risk, including Silvis.
Yes, and everyone's going to be seeing those strong, not everyone, but there's a very good chance you're going to be seeing those strong winds here throughout the metro.
Yes. Good question.
That is a great question. What time do you think the storms will be in Davenport? I get off at 7 and don't want to have to drive in it if I can avoid it. And timing-wise, that's, as of right now, you're trending to be a little bit better.
Yeah,
I get on and off at 7.
I agree. I think if you're done at work at 7, I think you're in really good shape unless you need to go west of the Quad Cities to get home. But other than that, yeah, if you can get off work by 7, I think you're okay to avoid the worst of the impacts there.
Yeah, I think that's a good, plan. I think 8 o'clock, right? Generally 8 to 9 o'clock here in the Quad Cities is kind of what we're keeping an eye on.
Is what we're watching, yeah.
Tyler's wondering, could the Quad Cities see a potentially dangerous situation watch this evening? And could we see possible destructive winds?
Destructive winds are certainly just about likely at this point, especially when you're 4 out of 5. That's very likely to see those. In terms of a PDS watch, you can actually get 2 different types. You can get a PDS tornado watch and a PDS severe thunderstorm watch. In our case, if I was a betting person, I would say we probably would not get a PDS tornado watch because we are not expecting those big bad tornadoes, at least this far north for much of the region. Our southern hometowns are a possibility, but right now I would not expect a PDS watch. But we'll see. That could change. Again, if we can sneak more moisture up in here, that would increase the tornado threat. That's what needs to change to make the tornado threat grow. We have to get more moisture up in here. So we'll be tracking that as we go into the afternoon.
Yeah, Cheryl was wondering, she's leaving from Kewanee for Springfield at 3 p.m. Will she be fine to travel? And I'd say, yeah, you should be just fine then. It's trending to be an after sundown event, especially for the further east portions of the area, closer to 10 o'clock. So you should be just fine all the way down to Springfield.
Yeah, any daylight travel, any daylight plans today before sundown, you're fine.
Should be fine.
No problems other than the wind.
It's just going to be windy.
A little windy.
So maybe keep your hands at 9 and 3 there.
Right, there you go.
Just take it slow. If you feel those gusts, just make sure to stay in your lane. You'll be just fine.
You'll be just fine.
How about Bushnell, Illinois?
All right, yes, same thing. You're still in that 4 out of 5 risk. We are expecting those really strong wind gusts. So that's our main theme here. And even in Bushnell, too, you could see a quick spin-up tornado threat evolve as well.
Right on that edge for it.
Yeah. These are you're gonna notice this when we're doing our severe storm coverage. We're gonna be watching that radar like a hawk because these type of tornadoes that spin up in these lines, they do it really quickly, and most oftentimes they'll catch you off guard. Like you said, they're hard to see. So we're gonna be zooming in and out of the leading edge of that line all night long when it comes through on the radar. So that's what you'll notice tonight.
Marcus from Knoxville was wondering where would be the safest place to go in your home with these storm threats tonight. Hi, Marcus.
Hi, Marcus. Good morning. I bet I know who that is, too, by the way.
I think
we always know who that is. Safest place, of course, is your basement. Brandy says hi, by the way, Marcus. Safest place, of course, is the basement. If you can't do that, like, for example, we don't have a basement here at the TV station. No. But what we do have is we have a whole bunch of rooms that are in the center part of the building that have multiple walls between them.
Yes.
So that's where we would go. Which you just want to find a room if you don't have a basement that does not touch the outside.
No, does not touch the outside, no windows.
No windows.
An interior bathroom is probably the best place because the piping too keeps those walls a little bit stronger with all the piping and the plumbing that goes into the bathroom. That actually helps kind of slow that down, and that's one of the safer places to go.
Yes, agreed.
So
people have ridden them out in bathtubs and survived to tell about it.
That's true.
Yep.
It's always a good storm.
It sounds silly, but it's true.
It's true. Dora was wondering, Andrew, is this storm going to be like the one we had a few years ago, that people were without power for a whole week or maybe more? Many people were without power for weeks.
I don't think this one will because, as we kind of talked about earlier, the fact that our trees haven't leafed out yet.
Yes.
We are going to see some power outages. Yes, that's inevitable because we have some trees that have weak branches or weak limbs that are going to be impacted by this storm. But it's not going to be like that storm system you're probably referring to that came through and knocked out a whole bunch of trees and knocked out a whole bunch of power lines. This is going to be more scattered in nature, not as widespread. But if we had leaves on those trees, we would be in so much trouble with this storm system. We would be talking about power outages for days and significant damage to the power grid. So as of right now, it doesn't look like we're going to see that potential because of that.
Maybe some isolated power outages, but that's kind of, or just scattered potentially, but that's just what we're keeping an eye on. Shouldn't be too big of an impact. Let's see. Laura, thanks to Andrew and Peter. Both of you have helped me today. So, of course, that's the goal. We want to try and help you not be scared. We want to help you be prepared.
That's right.
That's our goal with all of these.
Yeah, knowledge is power. The more
Knowledge is
knowledge you
power.
have, the more comforting hopefully it is, because we're telling you everything that we know. Literally, I'm breaking it down into the science. We're breaking down the timing.
Yes.
We're breaking down what we're watching to see what threats go up and down. So you know everything that we know essentially by the time that we're done with this live stream.
Oh, yeah. So could we see destructive winds? Is it going to be straight line winds? What are we seeing there?
Yeah, these are destructive straight line winds.
Yep.
Absolutely. It's going to be something that wipes everything in a path that lays in the same direction. If it doesn't lay in the same direction when you look at your damage tomorrow, then you've probably got a good chance you may have had a spin up tornado come through. But yeah, this is going to be straight line wind damage that we're mainly concerned with coming out of the west.
Yes. Will it be bad for rock falls or possible tornadoes up there?
Yeah, everybody has the possibility of seeing an isolated tornado. Everybody. Nobody escapes that possibility as we go into tonight because everybody's in that likely category, which means, yeah, there is that possibility. It's those folks down here that could see that possible stronger, quick spin-up tornado.
Yes. That's what we're really keeping an eye
Yeah.
on.
But everybody's in the same boat in terms of the possibility of seeing a tornado. The only difference is the type.
Yes. Chucky was wondering about Rockford. I know that's outside our area, but might as well give him an update on Rockford here because
Yeah.
about that level 2 threat for those tornadoes, severe storms, about that level 3 threat that you're seeing.
And what we noticed is at the 7 o'clock outlook this morning, the 3 out of 5 got pushed all the way north
Into Wisco.
into Wisconsin, yeah, past the Illinois-Wisconsin border. So my old stomping grounds in Rockford, yes, this is more of a wind threat for you. I think by the time you get that far north, the tornado threat really begins to decrease because you're getting into more stable air, and also it's going to be harder to get the dew points higher that far north. So this is mainly a wind threat for you that we're looking at, and you can see you're in that 3 out of 5 risk for the wind itself, though the strongest winds are expected to be to your south.
Yes. Let's see what Michelle said. Marcus will have Cooper safe. That is true.
Yes, yep.
Marcus will
Cooper's
be on
not going to
Cooper
be
watch.
riding this one out solo like
No.
he usually does, so I'm thankful for that.
Yes. Here in Galesburg, the wind's now steady at 8, gusting at 12. Yeah, that's just going to start to pick up as we get to the afternoon.
Yeah.
That was John saying at his weather station in Galesburg.
Oh, dang,
That's gonna-
okay.
already at 12. That'll start to pick up towards that 30 plus mark by the time we get to around 1, 2 p.m.
It's already happening.
Already happening.
coming
already
in.
Picking up. How bad could it be near Kewanee? So again, it's about that level 4 threat for the
Still in
wind,
the 4.
right?
Yep, still in the 4 with the wind. Very concerned about the damaging straight line wind potential coming through there and the possibility of that stronger tornado as well on an isolated basis.
Yeah. Amy is wondering, in an apartment building, is the stairway the best place to go to be safe?
It's not a terrible place to go, but if it's exposed to the outside elements, if there's no enclosure
Yes.
to that staircase, it's not the best area to go. If it is inside and it's enclosed, it's not a bad idea, especially if you can get under that bottom row of stairs. Sometimes
Yes.
there's that kind of crawl
That little
space.
crawl space under
Yeah, that's not a bad spot to go.
No, not a bad spot. And if it's, one indoor building, just in the middle of that first floor, in between the apartments on that lowest floor is probably a safe space. I know for my apartment, that's the place I would go, is we have stairs on the outside, then, apartments in the middle, you go to that first floor, like it's underneath, you go to that first floor right in the middle where you have no windows and you're safest spot. So that's
Yeah.
a good place there too if you're in an apartment building like that.
Yep, agreed. Good question.
That is a good
Getting some really
question.
good ones today.
Plainfield, Illinois. What are we seeing out there?
Plainfield, Illinois. I don't hear of that town too often. Give me 1 second to get my
I was kind of...
Also understand too that it's been a very, very long week. That's what I thought. That's up in northeast Illinois.
Okay.
So up there in Will County, kind of in the Chicago suburbs there.
Okay, gotcha.
So, let's go back to our little map here, and we'll zoom in to that region. Solidly 3 out of 4.
Yes.
And that is mainly a damaging wind threat that you're looking at in the Plainfield, Illinois area.
Yeah, most of the Chicagoland
There it is.
area is going to be kind of focusing on those strong winds here today.
Yep.
I know a lot of people are traveling that way too for St. Patrick's Day stuff with
Mm-hmm.
the river. So if you're traveling that way, make sure you're safe. And, if you're visiting a friend or anything, make sure you know that secure place as well if you're heading that direction here during the daytime hours today.
Yeah, and I'd imagine if you're trying to fly out of O'Hare tonight or Midway, there's going to be some serious
Serious
delays
delays,
coming that way after 10, 11 o'clock. So if you have a late night flight to catch out of the Chicago airports, you may want some extra time.
here in the Quad Cities too.
Yeah, here too as
We're going to
well.
be tracking those airport delays. I know I saw we were doing it on GMQC.
Yeah, we were already talking to the airport and trying to get their, plan of attack, and we talked to the power companies, see what they're doing for their plans and all that good stuff.
Yeah. What about Peru? How are the winds looking out there?
Peru, all right, let's go ahead and peruse down to Peru.
Ooh.
There you see, you're not in the 4 out of 5, but honestly, you're close enough. Just put you right in the 4.
Yeah.
The south half of the LaSalle Peru Metro is in the 4 out of 5. So that's going to be another area that we're going to be watching for some wind. You are just outside of the what we call that hatched tornado area, where you could see a couple of stronger tornadoes. We do believe an isolated tornado threat still exists, though, because you're south of Interstate 80, where that better moisture is going to be. So definitely a wind threat for sure, and an isolated tornado.
Yep. Now, how about Port Byron? It's a little bit north of I-80, but I think you're kind of just near that area, like we were seeing there with Peru, where you're close enough to that 4 mark almost. You're kind of nearing that a little bit, just to be a little bit extra wary out there as well.
Exactly, yeah. You're just south of Cordova, but yeah, I would say that Port Byron would be in the 4 out of 5 risk today.
Yes. I'd kind of,
Easily.
if you're along that corridor, it's better to play it safe.
Yeah.
And we'll continue to reiterate that. Better to be safe. Throughout this evening, be prepared, be safe, make sure you're taking those extra cautions as we get into tonight.
Right there.
Right there along, oh there, just inside of it.
Just inside
Just inside
the polygon.
Yes. What about Kelowna, Geneseo? Home with Stutsky.
Same thing, yes. It's Geneseo, absolutely. We're in the 4 out of 5. Kelowna also in the 4 out of 5. The wind threat, 80 plus miles an hour. The tornado threat there as well.
What about Milan? You guys are here in the
Same
metro.
thing.
Metro.
Yep.
Everyone in the metro area is going to be seeing that level 4 threat. And we're right kind of along that I-80 corridor again, as we're seeing that a little bit more enhanced tornado risk as well.
Yeah, either side of the interstate now.
What is the projected wind speed for Plainfield? I don't know.
60 to 70.
60 to 70, is that about right? That
Yeah, 60 to
region?
70 miles an hour
Yeah.
for that region.
Yep. Joseph was wondering, 5 miles east of Cambridge, winds right now are gusting 23.6. Oh, he's letting us know.
Oh, that's so precise.
30.2 on the weather station.
To
I
the
like
10th
that. To
of,
the 10th.
of a mile per hour.
Wow.
Dang. What kind of weather station are you working with
I
there?
know.
That's fancy.
I know, but it's picking up.
Yeah.
Already we're seeing 30 mile per hour gusts at what, almost 9:45 here?
Winds are getting up there, yeah.
getting
I
up there.
pulled that up that screen earlier, and we got a couple of flashing boxes already on the map. So
Yep, and we just got a couple more people saying high winds in Monmouth, rocking his Allen semi back and forth. Cambridge starting to get windy. Chucky, do you think it's a good night to go storm chasing?
no, this is not
No.
going to be the night for storm chasing. In fact, I think we've already made the call that the Beast
It's not.
is not coming out, because our policy with the Beast is if it's dark, we do not go after the storms. We don't storm chase with the Beast when it's dark, because that's dangerous. I remember one time when I was storm chasing as a college kid in the dark and got in a very tight situation where I could smell natural gas coming in my direction, and little did my chasing group know that the town literally 5 miles to the west of us had been just about leveled, and that's where that smell of natural gas was coming. We had no idea there was a tornado because you couldn't see anything. It's too dark. So tonight is not the night for amateur chasers out there to try and, go bag something. I think even the professional chasers are going to have quite a challenge if they
Yes.
come up into this region tonight with the darkness.
I mean, again, just focus on your safety and finding your safe place in
Yeah.
your home. That's kind of the best recommendation we can have. Get that Storm Track
Yeah.
8 app, get that 8 Plus app on your TV and on your phone. It'll be on both. Just make sure you're prepared and finding your safe spots.
Yeah. My buddy Tim, who's in Springfield, they're in a higher tornado risk level area than we are, and he said, nope, I'm not doing it. And he's a seasoned veteran storm chaser.
Really?
He said, nope, not doing
Yeah.
it. He doesn't even have to leave his house, and he still said, no, I'm not doing it. It's right in his backyard.
And that's the impact that we're seeing with this is, again, overnight tornadoes. We've been stressing this, or at least even the potential. We, again, can't guarantee we're going to see one, but with that potential, you can't see them. You see an elevated
Hard to
risk.
see. Moving
So,
quick.
Moving quick so fast, too. Just try and stay indoors and find your safe space tonight. If you're not seeing tornadoes, you're going to be seeing gusts 60 plus miles per hour across the board. Just stay in your safe place and get Channel 8 going.
There you go. We'll be here.
We'll be here. Let's see. How about Princeton, Illinois?
Princeton, yes. 4 out of 5. risk on the severe storm scale there. I know you're right on just the northern edge of that, but I think it's safe to include Princeton because of the Interstate 80 corridor. Now, the interstate has nothing to do with what we forecast. We use the interstate because everyone knows where the I-80 corridor is.
Yes.
You know what side of the interstate you live on, whether it's north or south. So that's why you hear us mention Interstate 80 a lot. People like landmarks. Because there's many of us out there, you know, and I'm not doing this to disparage anybody, but believe it or not, there's a lot of folks that don't know what county they're in, or they don't know where they're at on a map, and that's okay. We understand that. So that's why we use landmarks like Interstate 80, because most folks have traveled that and you know where it is.
Yes. And you know, you'll hear northeast portions. We'll kind of try and generalize it as much as possible to help that understanding.
Try to use those landmarks
Yes.
where everybody has been there or seen that or done that and knows where it's at.
Yes.
But yeah, Princeton's going to get rough.
Yeah.
We have a feeling.
Yep. Projected winds in Davenport around that's potentially 70+ mile per hour wind gusts we could be seeing here.
Yep.
what we're keeping an eye
Easily.
And then how fast will this storm be moving, Andrew?
Storm motions between 50 to 60, perhaps as fast as 70 miles an hour. So that's another reason, you know, most chasers are saying, nope, it's too fast. I mean, can you imagine how many traffic laws you'd have to break to keep up ahead of that storm?
Yeah.
You'd have to be going 80, 90 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And then you got to find a road to take. I mean,
You only have one option and
yeah.
two options, and either way they're both in a
Exactly.
zone where you do not want to be driving out here tonight.
No. Nope.
All right. I think that's all we got.
Is that all of them?
There we go. We got through everyone.
Perfect timing. It lands us about where we ended yesterday at 9:45.
Exactly
So,
what we were planning.
yeah, we thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to have another one of these coming up at noon because we get that next update from the Storm Prediction Center for all of these maps and all of our storm zones. So, not expecting a whole bunch of change, but can't rule out a little shift here and there.
Yes.
And again, we'll see what they're saying about the top wind speeds. Right now, Storm Prediction Center saying 80 to 100 mile per hour wind speeds are possible through our region, especially if you're in that 4 out of 5. So stick with us. GMQC at 11 coming up. We'll see if that outlook comes up on time at 11:30. If not, you can catch me at noon. We'll go over it again.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And I think we're going to let you go get some sleep, right? You're not going to come for the noon?
Probably not.
Okay.
I got to be back here a little bit earlier.
I don't blame them.
Help out our sisters.
Because after the noon, I'm going to go home and take a nap, and we're all going to be back here tonight.
Yes.
Keeping you safe ahead of these storms. So we'll catch you later, either this morning or in Peter's case, later this evening.
Later this evening.
Yep. Stay with us. Stay safe. We'll see you later.
Continue with us and watch free now on the 8 Plus app everywhere you stream.